Greetings, fiddlers. All right. Thanks for your interest in the practice plans. We're bringing the practice plans back along with some videos just to help explain and get people interested in the idea of organizing your practice time. So within these plans, which are laid out for intermediate, advanced, and beginning with different amounts of time that you have available, ideas which you can follow or not, for really optimizing, your precious, valuable time that you have to practice, spend with the fiddle. So I've provided all these suggestions for what and how to practice in order to improve your fiddling and improve your enjoyment of fiddling. Really is what it's about, isn't it? And reach some musical goals. Yeah. So some folks really do prefer to have a daily structured, specific practice time if they've got an organized life. And other people, just they want to pick up that fiddle when they feel inspired and, just do a more free-form practice routine. These can both work, but just being a little bit more organized in what you're trying to do. If you want to move forward and make progress, then it helps to have a plan. Right. So regardless of style, what style you are doing, the goal is for that time, that valuable time, to be rewarding and productive. Right. So in these practice plans, which are available on PDF, they're going to be in the study materials, but I'm also putting a little video just so that we can kind of get, so those of you who don't want to just download stuff and read, well, we can do that anywhere, but this is the fiddle school, and this is what it's about, just hands-on and eyes on, eyeballs, and all that stuff. So in practice plans, I'm going to be suggesting some fundamental ideas to include, not only include, but to follow when you're practicing, no matter what you're practicing, and how to do it, and I hope they will be helpful, no matter what level of player that you are, and no matter how much or how little time you may have to do this. So happy fiddling, and welcome to Practice Plan Land. All right, here we are in the practice plans number 2, and we're going to give you some technical ideas for these practice plans that we're talking about. We'll talk a little bit about that. It's just some ideas for the technical side of your practicing. Unless you have all day, you wouldn't want to do all of this in one session because there won't be any time to really improve at anything. You just be blasting through it. But the best approach, especially if you have a limited or short amount of time, which most of us do, let's face it, is to start with a skill that you feel most challenged by, right? After first warming up, very important, with a slow scale and some nice rhythmic bow work, right? So for some of that, pickup. For some of that, pickup. For some of us, the problem might be intonation. So scales and some finger placement exercises might be the thing we start with. Possibly a drone, with a drone, if we have time to get that running. If not, play on our own or play with an open string. For other people, maybe we feel weakest, challenged by our rhythm. So some shuffle work with a metronome might be the first thing to start with, or just shuffle work by itself. If we have a limited amount of time, we don't want to be rummaging around in a drawer for our metronome or our drone player or anything like that. We just want to go put our hands on the fiddle. And of course, the secret to getting better is to take on a small enough slice of that technical pie so that we can feel some improvement, no matter how short a time we have. So if we only have 15 minutes, maybe we want to just focus on one note or two notes. But if we can get those one or two notes better, noticeably better, make an improvement, then we have something. We have an improvement. And so make sure that no matter what tempo, no matter how small a piece of music that we're working on, we manage to play it correctly 3 times in a row, at least. This takes focus and thought. So a few seconds pause, for instance, between each time we play something difficult can really help our progress, just to think about what we did, how we did it, and do it again, right? No blasting through, because most of the time we wind up practicing it wrong. And we don't really need to get better at playing anything wrong. Most of us, and I include myself, are already pretty good at that. So there are also lots of things we can do away from the fiddle, such as stretches, elbow flexes, hand flexibility, stretches, just this kind of stuff. This business, elbow flexes, and we talk about this a lot. You'll see me ranting about that stuff on a lot of the video response. And hand flexibility, things like that. Singing through tunes, either silently or out loud in the car, and mentally visualizing ourselves playing a difficult passage in slow motion. Right? That can really help. So, give this method a try. I'm going to now just run through some of these techniques I'm talking about, trying to combine them. So if we combine one technique with another technique, then we're going twice as strongly. We're doing twice the amount of work in the same amount of time, and that's always good. All right? And of course, check in with me in a video or a letter in the forum if you have questions or if you hit a snag. So let's think about, we could combine some techniques like bowing and rhythm with maybe some left hand stuff. If we're having a lot of trouble with one of these techniques, I would advise you to just stick with one thing at a time. If you're really having trouble with bowing, just single bow, then just use an open string. Don't even worry about your left hand. But if you're starting to get to the point where you're, things are starting to happen, you're looking for improvement, we can do things like the long bows, observing that constant change of balance from here to there, a constantly changing leverage with, for instance, scale. That's pretty obvious, right? So in this case, we're combining intonation and getting our bows smoothing. We could do the time-long bows with a metronome, right? We could do, if we're really having trouble keeping those bows long, let's put 4 beats to a bow. You know, it serves 2 purposes right there. Not only are we keeping ourselves honest about the length of the bow, but we're actually getting good at calculating when to change the bow. Can I get to the end of the bow and then switch right on the beat? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? That's an important part of it, just calculating how much bow it's going to take to get to a certain spot on the bow and then being able to turn around on the beat. That's a big thing for fiddling. Right. So there's that. We could be doing that with finger placement, right? And I've got some things on that in the lesson. And of course, that's all about intonation, right? There we are, combining string crossing with finger placement, and trying to stay relaxed here, cross those strings smoothly and without lots of noise. That's a lot of stuff right there. But you know, if we can combine those, then we're just getting better at everything. Oh, what else could we do? We could do arpeggios and diatonic arpeggios that are built on notes of the scale. And combine them with, for instance, shuffle bowing. Right, things like that, where we're just playing our rhythmic bowing, getting the groove going, and then we're going through, basically, we're actually playing our scales and our modes and our arpeggios all at the same time. So we combine 3 things over here and then 1 thing over there. So that's 4 things. It's starting to get a little intense. Okay. So yeah, all the different kinds of scales, right? That we could play in different positions, right? We could play our major scale, all right, or our dominant 7th, or the minor scales. There's a Dorian, natural minor. Now, what could we do? We could do that on all first position. We could combine it with all those bowings, right? And then do the 7th. Or we could do. We could try another position. We could try it in 2nd position. So we take when we talk about 2nd position, anything that I would normally play with my 2nd finger, I would now play with my 1st finger, right? Just as in 3rd position, anything I would normally play with my 3rd finger, I would play with my 1st finger, right? So, There's a major. We go to the dominant. There's a dominant. What's next? We'd make a minor. There's a Dorian. There's a natural minor coming up. All right, harmonic minor. Right. Oh, that's actually melodic minor. I'm sorry. There's harmonic. There's our melodic minor. So yeah, scale patterns. We could do some sequences. let's see. Right, or right, those kind of things. We could do that with. We could do scale with arpeggios, and the you know, just the regular any of these scales, diminished scale, the augmented, all with different bowing. You know, so that kind of thing, yeah, and of course the idea that you could play any of these scales from the top to the bottom note of your instrument, or just say we'll just stay in first position. If we're playing a B flat scale, for instance, instead of starting on B flat, we could start, right? Just being able to, you know, make sure you're extending to the range of the instrument. Same with like E flat, right? E flat. Instead of just playing E flat there, right? So just extending that E flat scale to the bottom note of your instrument and the top, wherever you want to go. So those kind of things. In bowing, well, string crossings for sure. What could we combine the string instead of doing? If we're just beginning, right, we may want to just stick with open string. All these different patterns, right? But at some point, maybe we're doing our finger placement exercise again. Right, all those kind of things. Again, you know, going through all these different shuffles, classic shuffle. You can practice double stop, not too many at a time. When you feel ready, go to another one, extend. You could even start. Once that feels good, go to. And then add one. And we could do that same with the Georgia shuffle. Right? 3/3. Yeah. Well, you get the idea. So all these things. Or we could do it as a scale. Or one of the crazy scales. Right, those kind of things. So combining these different techniques with other techniques is a great way to kind of double your practice time on these various things, and maybe come up with a couple of new tunes, something like that. So those kind of things are cool. Any other ideas? Let's see. Back up double stops on chord progressions for various songs and tunes. Wow, okay. Well, there's a thought. What are we going to do for instance, what's one of those tunes in our jam group? Maybe the other people in the jam are getting a little upset because we play the melody all the time. Hey, make room for us. Can you keep playing and not play the melody? For instance, on Liza Jane, for instance. Well, let's see, what could we do? Right? Okay, so something like that. There's our string crossing again. And that way we're playing a little bit that dot dash thing. There's a lesson on that, I believe in that. There's our double stop. If we just want to get those together, instead of go, we can go. And play around with your groove and your bowing to just maximize. And it's always great. I mean, playing anything with a little groove to it is going to make even the most boring scale stuff so much more bearable.